Yes, students. Today we are going to discuss about the hardware level virtualization. Okay, and what are the different techniques that are present in this hardware level virtualization, as well as what are the other virtualizations. Okay, other than hardware, what are the other virtualizations we can make use. Okay, for our purpose. All those things we are going to see today. Okay, so these are the today's topics: hardware virtualization levels, and what are the different uh, methods we use under hardware virtualization, and other than the hardware, what are the other types of virtualizations that are available with the cloud. Okay, so last class we have discussed about the two types of instructions, ma. So first thing is privileged and second one is non-privileged. So what do you mean by here privileged and non-privileged instructions? Yes, anyone? Privilege means what? The instructions which are related to the OS level functions, like CPU accessing, CPU register accessing, okay, or accessing the IO functions. Okay, those are which are of very high level and which are of which should be operated by the OS level. Those all the instructions will come under privilege instructions, and the normal instructions which the user normally executes for his programs. Okay, if he tries to do some arithmetic operations or general instructions, just running a program. Okay, those type of instructions will come under non-privileged instructions. So both these things will be used under this hardware level virtualization. Now, I think you are able to see this slide, hardware level virtualization. Okay. Is the slide visible to you, ma?
Slide is not visible.
Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is a model of the hardware level virtualization. Okay, so we have seen what is the basic virtualization level. Based upon this only we have the other virtualization models. See here, this is a basic model of any virtualization. So here we have the hardware. Okay, normally how do you construct the virtualization layer or virtual machine instance or image? How do you generate that one? Virtual machine manager is a software program which will provide you the services which you want. The services may be of infrastructure oriented or platform oriented or software oriented requirements. So where is this VMM present? VMM you can install either on hardware, OS, okay. On top of hardware you can install, or on top of OS also you can install. So it will become this is the actual hierarchy in any system, okay, for any application to run on a system, whether it is a virtualized environment or a general application. Actually this is a hierarchy we have in hardware. Upon hardware we have the OS, which will access this hardware using ISA. What is ISA? Instruction set architecture. All the instructions which are passed from OS to hardware is through ISA. This will carry the instructions from OS to hardware, and the resources from hardware are allocated to the OS. Then upon OS we can build some applications using the OS level commands, OS level resources, okay, or the control information which the OS has. So how the applications are built on the OS? It is done using this ABI. What is ABI? Application Binary Interface. This is a second type of instructions which will act as a mediator between the application you are creating and that application will run on operating system. This ABI will support to run that particular application on this OS. Then after building the application on the OS, okay, with the help of ABI, we need to execute that particular application. Okay, it may be application in the sense it may be a shell program, it may be a command, okay, any type of or if you want to build a project using this OS, all those will come under the application. And to execute that particular application, you need some header files, you need some already built-in files in the OS. all those are provided to your application using this API. API is what? This will contain all the libraries, all the inbuilt functions of the operating system. You can include those files and functions in your applications without again recreating them. So that is the purpose of this API, that is application programming interface. So using this hierarchy only, we are going to understand the hardware level virtualization. Okay, so that's why I have revised this one again. So now this is a basic model of hardware level virtualization. Now, what do you mean by hardware level? What type of services are requested from hardware level virtualization, students? Any guess? Whatever is there, you can just okay, we need to communicate. Okay, we need to interact. Then only we shall be sure whether to go to the next topic or not. What are the things we may have in hardware level virtualization? Students, in the name itself, you can identify what is hardware. Okay, hardware is the architecture, okay, the background architecture which we require, okay, the configuration, okay, or the supporting storage, whatever we require, okay, for running an application, all those will come under the hardware level virtualization. Okay. And we have discussed about the host and guest. What do you mean by guest, ma? Who is called the guest here? Is it the server? Or is it the cloud provider? Who is the guest here?
Server.
Guest is the server. Then who is the host? See, guest is the user. Host is the server. Okay, host is the remote server, okay, or the remote system which is providing you the cloud services. Okay, like in CMS we have the company which is managing all our CMS activities is Balaji Online Company is there. Okay, private limited is there. That one is what? That is actually the host. Host is responsible for giving the services to the user as well as maintaining the particular application. Maintaining in the sense any problem is there in that particular application. Okay, if it is unable to store the data, if it is unable to display data names or marks or the lecture notes, whatever is there, any type of problem is there, so that should be again handled by the host itself. Okay, so that is the job of the host. The cloud provider, okay, or the company which is providing us the cloud services is called the host, and guest is the person who is using that one. Now we are all using the CMS, right? Faculty is using, students are using. Okay, so we all come under the guest, ma. We are using those services. Okay, so that is what the guest and host here. And how we are able to, so under this hardware level virtualization, we are only borrowing the configurations or architecture which is required for the particular application. We are not asking for the program, we are not asking for any Windows or anything. Okay, so whatever hardware is required, the minimum amount of storage is required, okay, or the configuration is required for that application, all those things will be provided to the guest in terms of a virtual machine manager. What is virtual machine manager? It is an interface. Okay, in short, we generally call it as VMM, Virtual Machine Manager. Okay, you see here, this VMM will be acting as a mediator between the host and the guest. Now, what is the job of the VMM is it provides you an interface where all your requests will be sent to the host, and host will also provide the different security features. Okay, all the requests are accepted by the host using this VMM. So without virtual machine manager, there is no concept of virtualization here. Okay, and how does it provide you? It provides you an image. An image will come along with certain functionalities, with certain features related to that application. Okay, and some amount of storage is also provided to you, okay, at the client side to run that particular application. Okay, and when you run that application is actually run, or whatever data or storage is required, that actually the storage is taken from the host. All the data what you do, okay, that means we store the attendance, we store the lecture notes, slides are there. Okay, everything we store in the CMS, right? So all those are actually stored where? They are actually stored on the host. So every time the next semester when the student list is to be updated, okay, so where we have to update all that one? Every time new students are joining, so how to update, how to create a new roll list again? Deleting and updating all these databases actually happens in the storage of this host. Okay, it is not done on the guest system. Okay, so VMM does all these things. It is a mediator between these two things. And what is another advantage of this VMM is, irrespective of the hardware configurations or OS, okay, of the guest system, it supports. VMM tries to compensate the configurations or OS, different operating systems on the guest system. Everything will be compensated by this VMM, and it tries to see that each and every application on the guest is run on the host. Okay, each and every application or every request of the client is passed to the guest, and it is stored successfully on the host. Okay, irrespective of the formats of the applications which are generated by the guest, everything will be supported by this VMM. Okay, so normally we go for the configuration and storage here. In a hardware level, we combine these two things here. And normally what happens in this VMM is, guest operating system here, whatever guest is there, the guest will work as an operating system here. Okay, the operating system, each operating system of each guest, okay, that will take care of this VMM. And there is a special name given to these all hardware level virtualization managers. Okay, so those are called as hypervisors. We normally call the virtual machine manager, which is used for hardware level virtualization, as hypervisors. Okay, so we give all the virtual machines which we use. Okay, we use virtual machines at different levels. Okay, we use at SAS also, we use at PAS. Okay, different types of requirements we use a VMM. Under hardware level, if you are using VMM, that VMM is called as hypervisor. This is a name given only to hardware level virtualization. Okay, so this is about the architecture model of the hardware level virtualization. Is it clear, ma? Students? Students, is it okay up to this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And we have, see here, we have emulation and the translation. Emulation is where the virtual image that is run on the guest, it will appear as it is running, it is storing all the data at the guest side only, or it is fetching all the data from the guest. Actually, it is fetching the data from the host. So that is a job of emulation. It the guest will be shown as if everything is running on his system. Okay, it does not show any difference between the host and the guest. So that is called as emulation. Okay, this technique is called as emulation. And second one is there is a binary translation mapping. Okay, so what do you mean by binary translation mapping is we have two types of instructions here. One is at the hardware level, all the instructions which are given by the guest can be categorized into two types. One is binary translation, one is interpretation map. So under binary, group of instructions will be taken at a time and they are executed at the host. Okay, that is at the cloud provider. And under the interpretation level, only single instruction will be taken, it is interpreted and then it is executed by the host. Okay, so the instruction, so it depends upon the particular host, whether to go for the binary translation, that is for a group of instructions at a time execution, or whether to go for each line execution, because the choice will be given to the host itself. Okay, so that is also done at the this VMM level. Okay, virtual machine will look after this category, that is whether to do binary translation or whether to go for the interpretation. So that also comes under a part of the software, okay, under VMM. So this is the next one. These are the here we categorize the hypervisors. This is there are two types of hypervisors here. Okay, if you want to access the hardware resources from the cloud provider, we can install virtual machine manager at two locations. So we have seen here what is the model of the architecture. Okay, so we have seen here this is a model of the virtualization. Hardware will be there upon this OS and upon this application. In this way we can implement the virtualization. So here in this layer only they have made some changes. So what are the changes they have made here is virtual machine manager is here. We can install virtual machine manager to access this hardware upon the OS level. Okay, after hardware and after OS, we can install the virtual machine manager here itself. Or else virtual machine manager, that is hypervisor, we can also install directly on the hardware also. Okay, so based upon this, we have two types of hypervisors. One is type 1 hypervisor, second one is type 2 hypervisor. So what is a type 1 hypervisor? Type 1 hypervisor are they interact with the hardware directly. Okay, they interact with the hardware directly, that is they are installed on the hardware directly. So this one, second one you see here, this is a type 1 hypervisor. So there will be direct interaction with the hardware. All the resources which are required from the hardware are fetched by this VMM or hypervisor directly using this ISA instructions. Okay, so all the hardware resources can be accessed by which instruction? Hardware resources will be accessed by using ISA instruction. Okay, instruction set architecture. Instruction set architecture we have. So using this instruction, all the hardware resources can be accessible. And second case, this is hypervisor 2. Under this, VMM cannot access the hardware resources directly. It has to take the support of OS. Okay, with the help of OS only, it can communicate to the hardware. There is no direct interaction with the hardware. And for this, we need two instructions. One is between OS and hardware, we need to use ISA. And again between between VMM and OS, we need ABI. Okay. So here we use instruction set architecture and here we use application binary interface. These two instructions we need to use in order to run this VMM. Okay, and this VMM, it will try to communicate with the application layer. Above this we have application. Okay, after OS the next one is application. So VMM will try to access all the resources from hardware and give its support to the application. And here, whereas here it cannot communicate with application directly, what it has to do, what are all the resources it has extracted from hardware, or it is asking from hardware, all those things again has to be passed to the OS. From OS, that particular resources will be transferred to the application. Is it clear, ma? Up to this point? Students?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is about the thing, and this the right side is called as native virtual machine. If VMM is installed directly on hardware, it is called native virtual machine because it is directly accessing this one. Whereas this second one, this left side block diagram, it will indicate that VMM is not directly interacting with hardware. Now in this case, it will be taking the role of it will be supporting the guest. So it is not directly accessing the hardware, and this type of model is called as host hypervisor, okay, or it is called as hosted machine. This is native virtual machine and this is hosted virtual machine. So these are the two categories of this virtual machine. And both these virtual machines, they can go for their own choice. They can either go for binary interpreted instructions, binary translation instructions, or they can go for interpreted instructions. Binary translation in the sense, they can execute multiple requests from a single guest. Okay, they can execute multiple instructions at a time. Whereas in interpreted, they can execute only one instruction at a time from a single guest. Okay, so these are the categories of the hypervisors. This is the type 1 one, native is type 1, and the hosted is the type 2. Okay, so whenever we are installing the virtual machine manager, okay, or hypervisors, they need to have some properties. If they show those properties only, they will be giving the effective functionalities to the guest. Okay, so first one is we have the equivalence. Okay, each and every VMM should have the property of equivalence. Now, what is this equivalence is? Whenever a guest is running, okay, guest operating system, it is running a particular application. Okay, it should be executed with the same behavior. The application should give the same type of interface, same type of resources to the guest, like how it provides the same interface at the server directly. Okay, there should not be any difference in the interfaces or the request acceptance or the responses that are shown at the server and as well as at the user. Okay, so that is called the equivalence. Okay, irrespective of the configurations, okay, or irrespective of the heterogeneous systems which we have at each and every user, the working of the application should be same. That is called as equivalence, and that is made possible with this virtual machine manager. The software which you write for this, which is or with which the VMM is developed, that is a responsibility of the VMM to execute the same application, okay, in the same manner at the guest side also. Okay, it should not show any errors if the operating systems are changing at the different users. Okay, then otherwise it is called as non-equivalent. Okay, then second one we have the resource control. VMM should be a resource control. Okay, that means all the resources which are offered by the hypervisors. Okay, so the resources which are to be shared to each and every client, there will be some restrictions, okay, or there will be some priorities on the resources so as to offer which resources to the clients. Okay, which should be private to the server only and which should be shared. Okay, so based on that policies, only the virtual machine manager should work. It should not show all the resources to the clients. That is called as resource control. Okay, so not all the information which is present at the server will be provided to the client, right? We have some policies. Okay, so what type of storage, how much storage will be given to you or given to the particular client? Okay, and what type of IP addresses are provided to the client, okay, to provide the virtual network. So there is some restrictions on that. So based on that restrictions, based on that policy only, VMM should work. Okay, then only it is a good VMM which serves a lot of clients. And the last one is efficiency. Efficiency is whatever instructions that are given by the client. Okay, so normally some instructions should be executed by the virtual machine manager only at the VMM side or at the client side. Okay, so when you are installing the VMM on your PC, that VMM will be installed along with some default information, default resources, okay, some default infrastructure. So whatever instructions the client is giving, maximum virtual machine managers should be able to execute that. Only the instructions which come under privileged in the sense most sensitive informations or related to behavioral information, like how the CPU is allocating the registers, or how the IO device or is been switching from one user to other user. These are all privileged instructions which are handled by the OS only, okay, by the kernel only. Okay, the most sensitive informations, only instructions related to those resources only should be sent to the hardware level to be executed, and remaining most of the instructions should be executed, okay, which is containing only non-private resources, okay, which are not, which is containing which is involving some simple input output files, okay, or some user defined files are there. So all those files should be executed at the VMM level only, without again going back to the hypervisor or the hardware level. Okay, so that is called as efficiency. Much of the VMM should not create burden on the hardware. Most of the work should be done by the VMM itself at the client system. Okay, so these are all the three important properties which any VMM, when it is developed, it should satisfy all these things. If all these three are satisfied, then only it is called as an efficient virtual machine manager. Is this clear up to this point? Yes, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We have seen the three properties, right? We have seen this equivalence, resource control, and efficiency. Here, this is a model. Okay. So, what is happening in the hypervisor, or what is happening in the VMM? How VMM is able to satisfy the three properties: equivalence, resource control, and efficiency. So, this is how it is doing. Okay, so this is the architecture of VMM actually. Okay, the underlying software of VMM, it contains these three things. These are the three main things. So first one, we have the dispatcher, and you see here ISA is there. ISA means what? It comes under which level? It is ISA will run. ISA will be between which layers? Instruction set architecture. Below ISA, what do we have? Which layer? Yes. Below ISA, what do we have? Any VMM will have three instructions: ISA, okay, application binary interface, and we have the API. So ISA will handle which layer, ma? Just now we have discussed, right? What did we discuss just now? Before starting class, we have seen here, right? ISA is under hardware level. It is a communication for the hardware level with other layers. Okay. ISA instructions mainly deals with the hardware layers. Okay, and you see here ISA, and we see this type 1 architecture. ISA is between hardware and VMM. So we are talking about the we can take type 1 or type 2. If it is a type 2, VMM will be about these two layers, hardware, OS, and then VMM. If it is a type 1, it is hardware and VMM. Okay, so whatever may be the type of VMM, okay, whether it is type 1 or type 2, here this is a instructions where these are the three modules which are required for the VMM. So this model, okay, here we have ISA, that is VMM is built upon ISA means this is a type 1 mark. If it is built upon application binary interface, it is type 2. Okay, so VMM is upon ABI, application binary interface, it is type 2. VMM ISA means it is hardware level, that is it is a native VMM and it is type 1. So in the VMM we have the what is the job of the decision and customers for the system. If those resources are enough to meet the particular instruction, it will try to execute those instructions and provide the result to the client without again going to the hardware. Okay, it tries to reduce the burden on the hardware. So dispatcher will collect all the informations, all the instructions which are passed from the client. Right. Is this clear? Yes, students? Are you following, ma? Seer, are you able to hear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So whatever instructions are fetched by this dispatcher, it tries to see what are the resources that are required to implement the particular instruction. Well, let me try to unmute your mobile. Okay, and then the instructions from the dispatcher. Okay, it is sent to the allocator. Allocator will be storing all the resources. Resources in the sense the files which are required. Okay, it may be library files. It is a simple user defined files or some system defined files. All those information will be passed. Okay, they are going to be returned back from allocated to the dispatcher, and in order to execute the commands at the each of the dispatcher received at each of the dispatcher, those will be interpreted by this interpreter routines. Now what is this interpreter routines? It will have all the privilege instructions. That means it will try to execute all the instructions, okay, which are mostly sensitive information, like CPU control informations will be there, register informations will be there. Okay, and shifting of IO devices will be there, IO functions will be there. Okay, with the help of all these inbuilt functions, it tries to execute those instructions. So this is the internal working of the VMM. We have three modules: dispatcher, allocator, and interpreter. Dispatcher, the job of the dispatcher is to distribute the instructions received from this instance or an image by this VMM. It will distribute the instruction to both interpreter and the allocator. Allocator in turn, it will return the resources or the files which are required for that particular instruction or which the user is asking. Those files will be returned to this dispatcher, and again the files and the instructions will be returned to this interpreter, where the actual execution is happening at the this interpreter only. Okay, using the inbuilt functions. So mostly it looks after the interpreter routines will normally execute all the privilege instructions only. So for normal instructions, there is no need to go for this interpreted inbuilt functionalities. Okay, generally, interpreter generally it executes the instructions, okay, without the help of any inbuilt functionalities or inbuilt header files. So this is the architecture of the VMM or hypervisor, and we use the term hypervisor only for hardware virtualization. Remaining virtualizations, we never use the word hypervisor. Okay, we in other types of virtualization we simply call it as VMM only. Is this clear up to this point, everyone? Are you taking down the notes? So just take down this one. This is the most important one, type 1, type 2. Just take down this hardware, OS, VM, these three instructions, and again you take these two. This is type 1 and type 2. Note down this one, and no screenshots, ma. You have to write down. If you write only, you will remember the things. Otherwise, it will appear as everything is a new only. You won't get familiar with this new terminology, VMM, okay, ISA, ABA, you won't be. Again, if you see, you will think that it is a new word. Just check down this one. This is the most important. And this is the most repeated question. Right. Is it completed? Students? Is it done, ma? Shall I go for next one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, and there are three theorems which are given for the VMM. That means we can say it as a theorems, or we can say it as a features. which can be included. Okay, these are not compulsory features. They can be included under VMM. Okay, and these theorems are given by Popek and Goldberg, okay, which can be included to make the VMM more efficient. Okay, so first one is whatever set of instructions, the set of is sensitive instructions which are given for a VMM, all those should be a part of privilege instructions. They should not become the actual instructions. Okay, privilege instructions are the instructions which can be executed, okay, by the OS only. Okay, and sensitive instructions are, they ask permission from the OS, okay, to give CPU resources, to access the resources of the kernel. Okay, they ask the information, okay, which are very highly secured data. They will take that particular data from the kernel level, giving some instructions. So VMM, when it is trying to access the particular instructions, in case if VMM is not built properly, some VMM will try to capture all the data of the kernel. Okay, they will try to modify the data which is present in the kernel. So what happens? The cloud server, okay, which is serving hundreds and thousands of clients, if the data in that particular server is changed by a single VMM, it will completely destroy the cloud network there, okay, other systems, okay, other clients. So whatever instructions a particular VMM is executing, those should be only a part of the particular OS instructions only. It should not be able to access the complete privilege instructions of the OS. So that is the meaning of this VMM. So this is one of particular limitation, okay, or the thing which we need to be careful when we are designing a VMM. Okay, it should not, without asking the permission of OS, it should not take all the data from the OS. Okay, then second one is recursively virtualizable. So this is one of the advantageous feature of VMM. Okay, so here recursively means we can build more than one VMM on a single client. Okay, on a single user. How do we build it is, first we develop a hypervisor. Upon that, another hypervisor is installed. Okay, two hypervisors will be running simultaneously on a single client system. That is called as recursively virtualizable. So such type of thing can also be built. Okay, such type of VMM can also be designed, okay, depending upon the user request. Okay, and to build this, okay, and this recursively virtualizable is possible only for hardware virtualization. Okay, so for other types of virtualization, we cannot build this recursive virtualizable thing. Okay, and then the third one, we have this hybrid VMM. Hybrid VMM is where all the instructions, okay, instead of taking single instruction at a time, a group of instructions will be taken. That is hybrid VMM. Okay, that means we are executing a binary translation. Okay, we are executing the binary translation technique for executing the instructions. Binary translation means what? What is binary translation? Binary translation is a group of instructions are executed at a time instead of going for one instruction at a time. So that type of thing is done by this hybrid VMM, and it can execute all those instructions directly. Okay, and it has overall control over all those instructions. So that is about a hybrid VMM. Okay, is it clear now, all these three types of properties? Students, is this clear? Yes. Is this clear, students? Yes. So this is an example of virtualized computer and non-virtualized computer. So what is this virtualized computer is? Where there is proper limitations are created for VMM. Okay, you see here there are privilege instructions which has to be executed. Okay, these are the instructions which are to be executed by OS level, okay, or at the kernel level. And these are some sensitive instructions, some instructions which the VMM want to execute by taking certain resources from the OS. With the permission of OS, it want to execute. So if the architecture is in this level, there is a clear separation between the OS level work, clear separation between VMM as well as the user instructions. Okay, the general applications with the user which the user want to execute, okay, without using VMM, okay, other general applications which are not built on cloud. So there is a clear separation between these three types of instructions or functionalities. Okay, if there is a clear separation, we can easily build a virtual computer. So this first one is a virtual computer. Whereas we see here, if suppose a VMM is built, which is abstracting both the privilege instructions, that is OS level instructions, it is abstracting, as well as user level instructions also it is abstracting. It is trying to grab both the privileged as well as the user instructions. Then if the VMM is built in this way, you cannot easily run all the applications using the VMM. Okay, it creates some sort of disturbance. Okay, the effective results will not be generated by VMM. So this is an example of non-virtual computer. Okay, why this problem occurs? If the VMM is not built correctly with the proper rules, okay, with proper limitations, then this problem will occur. Okay, so even the general instructions or simple programs with which the user want to execute, that way those programs may not generate the correct output because of the intervention of this VMM. Okay, it will abstract the general user programs also. Okay, so this is how we need to take care of the architecture. Is this clear, students? Okay, right. So these are the 4 different types of hardware virtualization levels. So depending upon the level of this one, okay, this is what VMM level mark. In what way VMM is accessing the particular hardware services, based upon this classification is given. So first one is hardware assisted virtualization. So under this, the total architecture which is required, okay, the hardware architecture which is required for the client to execute this program. Okay, so that architecture will be provided under hardware virtualization. Okay, so this is related to only the architecture, okay, or the basic requirement that is required. So that will be provided under hardware assistance. So the examples of this are VMware is there, okay, Hyper-V is there, Zen is there, XCN. Okay, so these are the different hardware level virtualizations. Okay, those are called as hardware assisted virtualization. So upon this, you can install different OS. You can install. So different softwares also you can install. So that is about the hardware assisted. The second one, we have the full virtualization. Full virtualization is they support the type 1 hypervisors. Type 1 hypervisors are, they directly interact, that VMM will directly interact with the hardware. Okay, they don't take any mediator. Like in type 2, VMM has to interact with hardware. It has to access the hardware resources using OS. OS will be in between the VMM and hardware. Whereas in full virtualization, the VMM will directly interact with the hardware and it will ask for the resources, whatever it wants, directly with the hardware. Okay, that means, and here a complete identification of the client will be there, complete isolation will be there. Okay, and when complete isolation is there, there will be complete security also to each and every user. So when it is interacting with the hardware, there is one problem. VMM should be designed in such a way that, or the software program written for VMM, it should be designed such a way that it is not able to access the complete resources of the hardware. Okay, whatever is required only that should be accessed by the VMM. Okay, by default. Okay, even if the hardware is without sometimes it tries to modify the permissions. You know, we have different file permissions, right? Okay, some VMM will be there. If it is not designed properly or developed properly, they try to modify the permissions of the particular files and it tries to access all those things. Okay, so that is the only problem when we give direct communication to the hardware. Okay, so that should be taken care when we are giving the full level hardware virtualization. Then second one is para virtualization. So under this para virtualization, the whatever VMM is there, that will be accessing the hardware resources. Okay, that is also going to access the hardware resources, but what it tries to do is it tries to modify the host. Okay, directly it won't take the resources as it is. It will try to modify the host resources and try to take only those resources and send it to the client. And VMM is when it is trying to modify the hardware or host resources. Okay, so then normally it has to modify the client resources also. Client side also it makes some updations, it makes some modifications. So by doing the modifications at both the client and the host, it tries to send the resources from the server to the client. So that is about the para virtualization. Para means it is not taking the resources directly from hardware. It is doing some kind of modification at the hardware level, that is at the server level and at the client level. So that is why it is called as para virtualization. Okay, which is not complete virtualization. Okay, and what are the examples for this are? We have Xen hypervisors. Okay, so Xen is a para virtualization. Okay, so that is one thing. And yes, any doubts? Okay, so when we are doing para virtualization, when the VMM is trying to modify some files, okay, at the server side, there is also a possibility that OS level resources will also be modified, okay, which will disturb the server. So under this case, what they try to do is para virtualization is given only to the applications, only to the environment where it is open source. Okay, so in open source anyone can access it, anyone can modify. Okay, it does not make any difference. So this para virtualization is applied to only those tools which are open source. Okay, only those tools will be provided under para virtualization. Then the last one we have the partial virtualization. So under this, we are going to use only few features of operating systems. Okay, all the features of operating systems are not used. Okay, so when VMM it tries to access the hardware resources, okay, in a type 2 hypervisor we have this OS level where OS will be a mediator between VMM and hardware. So in that case, it is going to access the resources of hardware, okay, as well as the OS by using the only a few resources of OS can be accessed here. Okay, whereas in full and para, all the resources can be accessed, whereas in partial, there is a limitation on the accessing of the resources. Only a few resources will be accessed by the partial virtualization here. Okay, and why this is applied to the applications where multiple clients are handling the resources at the same time. Okay, like you have the online exams. Okay, so what happens? Time duration will be same. All the clients are using the same application at the same time. So under such case, partial virtualization is used here. Okay, so so with the help of this partial virtualization, the advantage is we can do time sharing applications. Okay, so that is about this partial virtualization, and only few resources of the OS will be shared to this VMM. Okay, and all time sharing applications will be run under this partial virtualization. Is this clear, ma'am? 4 types of VMM. Students?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is the last slide of today's class. Okay, so these are the different other virtualizations other than hardware. So OS we have already discussed. These are all the things which we have already discussed. So different operating systems we can access, and the different IP address will also be allocated to you if it is a client server model. Okay, IO devices. So we have the different OS level virtualizations here. We have virtual private servers will be there. Okay, IBM company is also offering one OS level, that is IBM Logical Partition. So there are different examples for this where you can access the operating systems. Okay, you can run both the cloud operating system as well as the operating system in your PC. Okay, both simultaneously you can work. And then we have the programming level virtualization. Okay, so here virtualization here it is provided at the compiler level. If you want to implement interpreted languages, programming languages, an interpreter will be provided to you. If you want to run compiler oriented programs like C, C++, then a compiler will be provided to you which will be supporting that one. Those are all programming level. Okay, and the Java virtual machine will be provided for all the Java oriented applications. Python oriented applications are there. Those are also interpreted. So different interpreters will be coming for those programs. Similarly, for Perl is there, PERL. Okay, Perl is a programming language. For that, you have a virtual machine called Parrot. Okay, that also we can install, where it tries to support the Perl applications. Okay, and the next one is application level. Application level is the application is ready to be used. You can directly use them, and you can execute that. And execution can be of two types. Just now we have discussed. Binary translation is group of instructions are executed at a time. Interpretation is one instruction at a time is executed. Okay, that particular program will be executed with line by line execution. Okay, or line by line compilation. Here at a time all the lines will be compiled. Okay, then we have the storage level. Okay, different types of storage area networks, SAN, are there, where you can be a part of that network. Okay, your system will be one of the client there in that particular network. Okay, that network is called a storage area networks, under which you can borrow the a storage limitation will be there. Okay, how many files you can store? That storage file system will be there. You can access them. Up to that limitation, you can access and store all your files. Okay, then we have the networking. For networking, we have a network called as virtual network. Okay, virtual LAN will be there. VLAN we call. Okay, that is also virtualized LAN, where you can have your own private network, or this will be normally taken up by the startup companies, where they can make a small network, where they can build a small network, a virtual private network they can build. Okay, and they can start their new business with the help of this virtual LAN. And desktop application is this is the server, remote server is there. All its desktop application, or whatever desktop screen is there on the server, that screen will be shared to you. Okay, and whatever desktop icons are there, whatever you click, whichever icon you click, okay, that icon will be activated. Okay, from the server it will be activated, and that particular application will be open to you. So the desktop of a particular system you can access. Okay, so that is desktop virtualization. Okay, and this is application server. Application server is where you are um, trying to execute a particular app, okay, or a particular software or application which is actually built on the server. Okay, you are going to execute that one directly without any emulation, okay, without the help of VMM also. So under this application server virtualization, you can run that one. Okay, and so this will provide a better quality of service. Okay, why? Because in between emulator will not be there. You won't have, um, you won't spend time there. Okay, in the execution of virtual machine manager there. Okay, so in the last case only, we don't have any VMM. Directly, you can run the application on the server with the help of IP address, with the help of the network connections. You can directly run a particular application using the OS or using the compilers which are present on the server. So these are the different types of virtualizations. Okay, so from third level, okay, from third point, from application level to remaining 7, these are used in a very limited amount. So first 3 are used in a most in a very big industries or very big software companies. They go for the first 3 only, because remaining are already available with them. They have plenty of resources regarding storage, network, and everything. Okay, so they normally go for the first 3 only, that is hardware, OS, and program level. Right. Is it clear up to this point, everyone? Students? Any doubts regarding this? Yes, students. Any doubts, ma'am?